Hey, hey, hey! How's everybody doing this Tuesday night? I hope everybody's having a good night, good week. It's been a long time since I've just been on here live by myself. Feels a little bit strange. I feel like I should be talking to somebody else. Instead, it's just me in this room talking to myself and a phone. If you're on here live, I'd love to know that you're here. And if you're catching the replay, I'd love to know that you stopped by and to watch it. So tonight, I want to get a little bit personal. I want to talk to you guys about something that was really hard for me and that I feel like several other people have issues with. Last time I did a poll about where to get started for your core and for what issues you guys were having within your core exercises for balance. I did a poll for that, and a couple of you guys commented in that you felt like you were too far behind and it was so long of a road to get started. And it can feel that way sometimes, and I definitely have felt that before. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that and about how you're not alone, and two, the person who is like running fitness programs online for women mountain bikers, me, have been there several times, and how I kind of managed that and dug myself out of that hole. Because it is a hole, and you have to significantly go uphill whenever you start digging yourself out. So in my past, in my history, I have had several health issues. I've had several things that have knocked me completely on my butt, and I've had to figure out how to get back from it. One of those was when I couldn't even drink water for about 2.5 months. I would get lightheaded every time I stood up. I was on basically a simple carbohydrate diet. That's the only thing that my stomach would accept me to stay down. And I was playing soccer in college at this time. And so my fitness level was good. And then it went completely down from there. I lost a ton of muscle mass. I lost a ton of strength. And after that 2.5 months, I started adding it back in water. I started adding back in other things. When I could finally eat beans and rice, it was a really, really big deal, because I could start getting in some more protein. When I started drinking water, I finally stopped being dehydrated so much, because I was basically living in a state of dehydration. And when I started to feel more normal, it was really hard for me to figure out what I needed to do for myself, how I needed to start exercising again, because I was an engineering major at this time. I wasn't PT. My mom is a PT, and she was trying to help me out, and I just didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a way out. And I've told this story a little bit before, but I would go to the gym and I would destroy myself. I would do exercises that were too hard for me. I would work out for like an hour, and then I would be so freaking sore. My back would be a little bit tight, and I wouldn't be able to work out or do anything for at least a week. And it was super hard to come back from that. And we all have our different things of where we have had these issues, where we've had our fallbacks. And if you don't mind sharing, I'd love to know where you feel like you are right now. Do you feel like you are at your top notch? Do you feel discouraged when you look forward down the trail, down the road, down your journey, and you see that distance of where you want to be, and you see where you are now, and you're like, oh shit, that's so far. And whenever you think about that, that's like looking at, if you're at the bottom of the hill mountain biking, that's looking at the top of it and saying, oh shit, that's so far. And then just turning around and going back to the car. And we know that we don't do that whenever we're out there on the trail. We know that we trudge along. If we can't ride it, we hike it, and we bring our bike along for a little hike. And so why do we tend to do that in life? Like, we learn and we go through it. And so if you're there right now, if you see that, where you are looking at that future and being like, oh, I wish I was there. And there's a lot of us that feel that way. And it doesn't mean that you have to be as far down as I was, because I was kind of pretty extreme pretty extreme example of not drinking water for 2.5 months and doctors telling you that you're just anxious and have anxiety and that's why you're all sick and stuff. No, I have anxiety because I couldn't drink water. Come on. But it's looking at that. And so I wanted to give you guys some 3 tips about how I manage that and then how I overlay that to different situations. Because there's always that point of where you're at now and where you want to be, and that those 2 points seem so far away from each other, and how you kind of break that down. So one of the things that I have been working on here recently is my fitness and mountain biking. And you're like, you run a fitness program for mountain bikers, Liz. What do you mean? Well, when I got out of PT school, I had been working as a PT, and working in the healthcare industry doesn't give you a whole lot of time. And it makes you feel really tired afterwards. And I'm sure there's some people that are watching this that are in the healthcare industry and totally understand me. And so I lost a lot of my fitness after I graduated from PT school and was working for a bit. I just didn't have as much time. And I let my fitness go by the wayside. Well, I would go out riding, and I would ride with all my friends, including my husband, and I would be like so far back. I would be like breathing heavy, like trying to catch my breath, sitting on the side of the trail and just being like, what the hell? Why can't I go? So I was looking at them, seeing what point of where I wanted to be, and then looking at where I was sitting on the side of the trail, not trying to die because I needed to breathe and focus in on breathing in and breathing out slowly so I didn't have an asthma attack. And so I took these tips and I overlaid them in. This past weekend, I went for a ride with my friend Daniela, and it was so wonderful. I'm starting to see like the true benefits of all of it. Like of the little bits and pieces, I've seen benefits along the journey, and it's been great. But I saw like I had conversations as I was riding uphill. I was able to ride further up this one part than I ever have before. I had a ton of energy for the downhill. Like I was just super jazzed. Dancing in the car on the way back home, just total jive. I loved every bit of it. But part of me doing that was that I felt good. Like my body felt good. I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to get there. And so that's tip number 1. Tip number 1 is thinking of the joy that you'll get when you're getting there. What will that bring you? What will that change inside of you? Not just I can keep up with my friends, not just I want to be able to have more fun. Like those are really great things, but what does it bring inside of you? Like I felt such a sense of accomplishment. I felt so happy for myself and such a self-confidence within it. And it was wonderful. I freaking loved it. Shanna, your arms look so buff. That's awesome. I've been working on my arms. They're getting bigger. My little biceps are starting to get a little bulge. Thank you. Oh man, I love you. So I felt such that sense of accomplishment. And I knew that I would feel so much better about myself when I took steps, when I did my 15-minute workouts, when I did my exercises to help me feel better about my body, to help me get more in control of what was happening inside of me. And it might just be my type A personality that I like to be in control a little bit more. If you're there with me, let me know, because you're not alone. And I hope I'm not alone by my type A go-getter, want to be in control type attitude. But having those sense of accomplishments can help you. So that's what starts your motivation. That's what starts to help you make those choices. It helps to turn around your attitude within it as of why you want to get to that point. Is it so you feel better about yourself? Is it so you feel more accomplished? Is it because you want to have control about what's happening inside of your body, that you want better health, that you want to talk with friends more, that you want to enjoy your rides instead of just feeling like you're dying on the side of the trail like I was? I point back because that's where I always was behind. But taking those emotions, taking those thoughts, that's what gets you to step number 2. So step number 2 is choosing a small bit of time. So even if you I started 15 minutes each week. You're like, Liz, that's not going to get you very far. I know. It wasn't going to get me very far, but it was a start. It's what got the ball rolling. And a lot of times we tend to try to start things too much. We try to do so many things at once that we get burnt out all the hell and we throw it to the side. So, tip number 1, looking at why you want these things. Why does that goal, why does that progress, why does it mean so much to you? For a lot of my PT patients, it's because they want their life back. They want to be able to even go out for a ride. They want to be able to even go kayaking. They want to be able to bend over and pick something up off the floor without hurting. For my other clients that are more fitness-based, they want to be able to have a conversation while they ride. So whenever they're riding with friends, they can communicate. And it's part of their social time. It's part of their community. And like that brings so much more to our hearts, so much more to our minds. It's that connection that we all enjoy and that we all love. And so being able to have that connection as I was riding this past weekend was so huge for me. I loved it. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, choose small times. It doesn't have to be something huge. It doesn't have to be this mind-blowing thing that you do. I started with 15 minutes. 15 minutes. One workout, 15 minutes. And how you break that down, if you're wanting to do exercises, is I'd choose core because it's one of the easiest areas to focus in on. And it's one of the areas that can give you a really big bang for your buck. So everybody, or most everybody that's in the strengthening exercise workout world says if you work on your core, then you can get the most bang for your buck for the other things that you do. It can completely change your weightlifting. It can completely change other things. And that includes your biking. It's one of the easiest ways to get a little bit stronger, to get a little bit more implementation, and to feel better is to work on your core. So whenever you're thinking about that, choose just 4 exercises that you will round and circuit through for that 15 minutes. This is like the basis of what I built the core crushers on. The reason why I do 15-minute for workouts of climb crushers in the Ride Life team and for core crushers is because that's what I started with. It's an easy, biteable chunk that you can do. So choosing small things. And we've all heard it, but having actually something that you can start with and do, choose 4 exercises, 4 core exercises. And if you need a little bit of direction on this, say I want some direction on core exercises for beginners. Say it. I'll do another live video maybe next week, and I'll go over just some easier ones for you guys to know. And just for you to understand where you can start. So 4 exercises based on core that you do in a circuit. So first exercise, second exercise, third exercise, fourth exercise, and you do it in a circuit for 15 minutes. That's your timer of how long you have to do this. And make it where it's so easy you can do it like on the floor, in the living room, watching TV. Just chunk off that and choose that little bit. Just 15 minutes. Because everybody, or even 10, I don't even care. If you get 10 minutes in, you will get something. These little bits matter so much. And that's how you put it into the bigger one. But if you think about all the big workouts, man, you'll never get there. It's too exhausting. It's too daunting. It's too much, you know? And so chunking out 15 minutes, that's how all my programs are designed, is where you can take bits and do a 15-minute part. Because sometimes it's really super stressful and we put too much on ourselves, and we already have enough on ourselves as a day-to-day basis. And we never end up doing it. We just don't. Sucks. Means we're never not going to reach our goal. We're not going to get better on our bikes. We're not going to get better at controlling and understanding our bodies. And then we'll be sad because we thought that we wanted to get better And I've done that. I've gone through that like emotional roller coaster of like, I'm doing this, and then I fail. And then I'm starting doing this, and then I fail. And it's huge. It's so hard on us emotionally, because then we just feel like failures. Self-confidence goes down. At least mine did. And it's like that give and take. You're like, damn it, I just can't follow through with anything. And it's not true. It's just that you try to do too much at once. Oh, man. So that's tip number 2. Bite off a small chunk. Tip number 3 is the last one, and it's thinking about why you're discouraged to get started. Why does that journey look so daunting? It's an interesting question, isn't it? Like, why does it look so daunting? Is it because all the time that you're going to have to put in to get there? If it is, then I need you to know where you want to go to and pick a halfway point. If that halfway point still looks daunting, then choose 2 weeks from now. What do you want to have accomplished in 2 weeks? Make it small. Make it where it's not this huge thing. Because whenever I would think back about like my riding, I'd be like, I want to be able to ride and keep up with this person, or I want to be able to ride and feel good on this huge hill that a lot of people struggle with in general. Instead, I chose and I took that goal and I made it smaller. I wanted to feel good whenever I reached the top of this hill. It was a hill that I could already meet. I already could climb it, but I just needed to feel confident at the top of it and not like I wanted to die. Because that was what would happen. I can't breathe. I'm going to go sit down over there. Done. And so choose those. If why you're discouraged is because it's too long of a distance, if it's too far of a goal, break them down. Half it and half it. Make it like 2 weeks out, a month out. What do you want to do within that? Make those reasonable goals. Make those achievable goals for you. If you're discouraged because it's too far of a time, then do that we just talked about. And then if you were thinking that you don't want to get started because every time you get started, you get hurt. That was me. I had to go to like 3 different PTs to get better for my back pain. Isn't that crazy? This is before I was a PT. I was actually starting PT school. And I had gone to 3 different PTs, and I couldn't get started getting my body stronger because I didn't know what the hell to do. Like, I didn't know what was going on. And so I tried to get help. 3rd one finally helped me. And one of the best and most things, like the thing that I learned the best from that experience is that we always try to do things that are harder because we want to shorten the time. And that doesn't always lead to better. There's this one lady, oh my gosh, I love her. We're just going to call her Judy for right now. Well, Judy is this 76-year-old lady that I saw in my clinic. And she's like, you know how those referral networks work? So she's not my typical client. She's not a mountain biker lady. She's just this old fiery lady that I freaking love, super feisty. And she came in to see me because she had some leg pain stuff. And darn it, that girl, every time I'd give her exercises, she'd go home, do them, and come back in and say, Liz, that one exercise is too hard. I'm like, what exercise? I'm pretty sure I gave you like really simple, controlled, easy exercises for you. And I'm like, just show me. So she'd get on the table and show me the exercise that she thought that I told her to do that she had modified to make harder. I'm like, Judy, where is that on the sheet of paper that I told you for your home exercise program? And she'd look at the paper and go, I guess I made that harder, didn't I? And I go, uh-huh. She's like, I thought that doing it this way would make me get better faster. And that doesn't usually work. And so if you're thinking that you are going to get hurt if you start to exercise, because that's been your experience in the past, start easier than you ever thought you would. And for core exercises, most exercises that are out there are like I call them the sexy exercises because they're the ones that always look so good that everybody does, and they're hard as hell. And if you don't have perfect form, then your back will hurt, your hips will hurt, they'll get tight. And a lot of times they're not the ones that we need to do anyways. They're too dang hard. And so doing easy enough exercises, easier for you, is what you need to start with. And so if you think that you're going to get hurt, start way easier than you ever would think to. And same thing, if you want some core exercises that are easy, just comment easy core exercises. I'll do another Facebook Live and we'll go over some really simple ones for you, because it's something that I need you guys to know how to do and to start with. All right, so the last one is for the third tip of deciding why it's discouraging is if you are comparing yourself to others. This one is hard because if we ride with other people, then who do we compare ourselves to? Other people. If we are looking around our social networks, I didn't have anybody in my social network that hadn't drinking water in 2 months, that used to play soccer in college. All my friends were athletes. Like, I was the only one that was like way, way, way far behind because everybody else was a collegiate soccer player that I was friends with. Talk about looking around and feeling like an outsider. I was like, running down to the end of that field looks very hard right now. I was used to running like maybe 6 miles a game. Before that, like, you look around and you're like, I compare myself to everybody. And it's so hard. You can't just like not compare yourself to people. It's that you have to realize that you're not alone. And that's part of why I'm sharing my story, is because it's not to be like, oh, Liz made it back from like way far down. I did it a couple times because life had a tendency of slamming me here and there. I mean, after you spend 2 weeks in a hospital for stepping on a nail, it pretty much sucks. I tried to pony myself through it and ended up breaking my toe on top of it. Come on. So it's really hard to look around and see everybody else because you only see what good people are doing. Like, you see the people that are running down sprints on the soccer field, or you see the people that are like kicking ass up the hill, and you're like, I'll hike my bike up this hill. Oh, I'm going to stop and breathe because I'm tired hiking my bike up this hill. It happens. But the thing is that a lot of us have been there, and a lot of us, we just have to realize that we're not alone. That you don't have to compare yourself to others that are always ahead of you. That's who we look to. That's what drives us to a certain extent. And that's okay. You can use that as a driver. You can use that as something that pushes you to light a little fire underneath your ass. But don't make it where you feel that comparison and you don't start what you need to get started. Because I've been there and I've done it and it doesn't work still. You end up just still not getting started, and then you don't get anything done, and then you just feel worse. You feel bad about yourself, you compare yourself again, and it's like this huge snowball effect that doesn't fucking work. So when it comes to comparing yourself to others, it's looking around and realizing that you're not alone. That's why we have these type of communities, is because there's many of us that are not as good. There's many of us that need more fitness on our bike to feel better and to feel more confident. There's many of us that are working towards it, including the person that runs this program. I'm working on it. I'm doing my stuff. Did a lot of core exercises today because I'm making new levels. But it's like, you're doing these things. You're working on it. I had somebody tell me, they're like, Liz, I watched one of your videos the other day and I really appreciated it. I'm like, oh yeah, why? And I'm like, what did you learn? She goes, oh, well, the video, what I learned was okay, but it was in the video. You said I have issues with this. You said that you don't do it exactly like I'm doing it. Do it more like this. She's like, it was just really refreshing because it wasn't a fitness professional being perfect, because we're not perfect. Nobody is. And I'm just willing to share it because I'm not, and I never will be. And that's okay. I'm okay and I'm happy with myself and my non-perfectness. So if you're thinking and comparing yourself to others, find others that are around you. Reach out and hear. reach out to me, because I wasn't perfect before, and I never will be, and I had issues with climbing up that hill. That's one thing about bringing people together. That's one thing about the Ride Life team and these other programs that I have that brings these people, that helps them understand that they're not alone. I've had several people say, like, hey, I'm started level 1 and I feel a little bit bad about it. And others are like, oh, I'm level 1 too. I'm level 1 as well. Oh yeah, we're all there's a lot of us that are level 1. And that's how you build that community aspect, and that's how you realize that you're not alone. And so instead of just trying to stop comparing yourself to others, because that's life, we will. It's just that we need to change that comparison structure and realize that we're not alone, because whenever you compare yourself to others and think you're alone, that's when it becomes the problem. All right, ladies. Well, that's it for tonight. Again, let me know if you want some basic core exercises for another live. And then if you feel like this was helpful for you, if you feel like this helped you gain a little bit of traction, if it helped to get you started, if it helped to get you going, and helped you with some tips of thinking about how and what joy you're going to be able to have, what self-love that you'll have once you've reached some of these goals, making a small time commitment, 15 minutes, that's where you start. And then thinking about why you're discouraged and working through those parts. If it's because of the huge timeline, break it down. Make it a smaller goal for it. If it's because you're comparing yourself to others, that means that you need to change who you're comparing yourself to and reach out in here a little bit more, or reach out in the Ride Life team if you're there. You're not alone, I swear. Everybody, there's so many of us that are like this. And then also, if you're afraid of getting hurt, then doing super, super easy exercises. Over easy, so then you'll get confident and comfortable and understand your body. Sweet. All right, ladies. Oh, I'm so glad that these things were helpful. These lives were good for you guys. Oh, it makes my heart happy. All right, guys. Love you. Have a good night.